Hi, Soman. You look so professional with your blazer.
I just got back from Random House, but enjoy the site for like maybe 3 more milliseconds because I am so hot and I need to take this jacket off. But if I do, we're going to be wearing the same outfit.
We're going to be matching. I'm honestly surprised it's taken us this many episodes to show up looking like each other.
This is ridiculous. Are we in Greece or something?
It kind of looks like we're in a future prison. But I also did just watch the Prison Break episode of Andor, so I'm like, oh, we're kind of in the uniforms.
And we're also not just in like white t-shirts, we're in like nice white t-shirts.
Don't get it twisted. This is just from Madewell.
I don't know where this is from. I think it was from Nordstrom's. I needed something to go under the suit.
I do want to say I do panic about what I'm going to look like on this podcast every single time, even though nobody watches the YouTube. Everybody's just listening. Nobody gives a shit what I look like. But then I look at you and you like have your perfectly framed, like your whole body's in it. I'm over here like finagling my angles and trying to sit in front of a window. And then you just show up like, Soman.
What are you talking about? I just Google plastic surgeons every time I watch one of our episodes. You should see my search history. It literally times to every time we finish an episode. It's like top 50 plastic surgeons in St. Louis.
I think we said this before, but I'm just going to do nothing and then have a facelift.
We're going to do it at the same time. On a happier note, our mailbox is just filled with dogs and Pup Twists. And
Hooray.
So I started wondering, like, to sort of get me through the day, like, I just started to look at humans and start to think, like, what if they were dogs? And I start to see every human as like a different dog breed. And then I started thinking, well, what would we be? Like, what would our dog?
That makes me think of that sequence in 101 Dalmatians where they have the dogs that do look like their owners, and it's a very pleasing sequence. I don't know, because it's like, are you going to have a dog that looks like you, or are you going to have a dog that has your personality?
I think it's
like,
the
those
personality.
Are different.
I think it's the personality, right?
What's a high anxiety dog? That's where I live. Or like a dog that is high anxiety unless all conditions are perfect, and then they're the best dog.
I think it's like the rat terrier or whatever it's called. Those things are super anxious.
The first thought I have is King Charles Cavalier. Because I want to be in some rich old lady's lap, just being petted.
Those always have it. Yeah, those their lives are made. I was thinking more like Shiba Inu, which is like I have to decide if I like you. That feeling of, do I want to engage with you?
Yes. It's funny. I have a retriever. I'm not like a retriever in any way.
No. And I have a Bernese, and I find them way too affectionate and codependent for my liking.
Very beautiful in the face.
Yeah. In the end, we chose beautiful breeds, which reinforces our shallowness.
Vanity.
On that note.
Hi, I'm Victoria Aveyard, the author of The Red Queen and the Realmbreaker series.
And I'm Soman Chinani, author of the School for Good and Evil series, and welcome to Plot Twist, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of the biggest swings in our careers. Victoria's Tempest, her very first novel for adults, an epic pirate fantasy.
And Soman's Young World, a red-hot young adult political thriller. Each week, we go behind the curtain of our creative process and give you our hot takes on thorny issues in publishing and entertainment, answer your mailbag questions, and we pitch plot twists that we want to see in real life.
And today's hot topic, one that has really been on my mind for a long time, so I'm so excited to talk about it with you. It's, can you make too much art? But we're going to start out where we always do with our first segment, Theme of the Week, where each week we come up with a word or phrase that encapsulates the essence of our week on and off the page. Who should go first this week?
I think you should go first because my theme kind of builds off of your theme.
Okay. So my theme of the week is it's a brand young world. Big relief of a week. I had been carrying over that proof from week to week, putting it off. And now I took 8 days and I disappeared into a cave again to read it. And I did nothing else but read this damn proof. But it actually was really different this time because, the first proof I had 700 design and copy edits, which was way many for this kind of, process.
Yes.
And I felt like I was reading it as like an architect and author. Like I was still kind of rebuilding the flow and how I wanted it to be because it was like a movie and there were different sequences in art and how I was going to put everything together. So it almost felt like I was a movie editor still putting it together. And you can't take in the beauty of a whole new house if you're still working on little things in every room. And that's what it felt like. This time I only had 90 edits.
Only
which
90.
which actually, if you think about it, because something might be an ellipsis into a
Mm,
period and like the smallest things. And so it just felt like for the first time in 3 years, I could actually read the book like it wasn't my own. And it's this unique feeling that you don't get to until very late in the process. And it usually happens somewhere between like the second and the fourth proof. And it's the feeling that you're no longer the author and you're just the first reader.
mm.
And I just thought it was the most glorious feeling. I got so caught up in it. It's just such a crazy, crazy book. And I like cried a few times, both because the book is like super emotional and opens up all my kind of raw, vulnerable spots for the first time, but also because from the beginning, this whole book has been like my Noah's Ark, where
Mhm.
I gave up my like thriving fairy tale career to say, I'm going to write a 500-page global political sex thriller murder mystery. And
Not a
it's going to have,
sex thriller.
I
We're not
wanted
gonna
to.
advertise it as a sex thriller, Soman. It's weird, I
I
gotta
want
say
to
that.
bring them back from the 90s for the Sharon Stone.
But
Remember,
you
I
can,
love
but
this.
not if it under a young adult imprint.
It's like Basic Instinct for teenagers.
No!
And it's going to have
Canceled.
200 plus visuals and be in full color. And there's not going to be a book jacket. And I'm going to invent a color for the whole thing that doesn't exist. So, like, I was sounding a little crazy when I was pitching it.
Just a little.
And now the whole thing is like real, it's almost real at least. And so it almost feels like I don't understand how it happened. It was this weird fever dream where I just sort of bullied people into letting me make it. And
The
so when I,
story of your life.
it's true, when I finished it finally and sort of turned in this proof, it felt like for the first time in 3 years, I've opened up this very tight fist and like let the book go
Mm.
like a bird because it was done. Like I had done the work. And it doesn't feel like it's mine anymore. And I just think I'm very, very happy that it has turned out exactly like I kind of dreamed of. And I can't wait to share it, hopefully, with a lot of you listening right now. So I just think it's also ironic that for the first time, I think in so many episodes, I actually have a celebratory theme.
Mhm.
Normally, I'm the one drowning or burnt out or suffering, and you're free. But I just really love this book, and I think somehow that makes all the pain worth it. And it's also cool that today was the day I went into Random House and met like the entire
Mm.
team, and we're starting to really plot the release of it, which means the making of it is just about done.
I wanna say for all of the aspiring writers or the career writers who are listening to us, I'm thinking the same thing you are, which is this experience of having almost like closure.
Mm,
Like you're ready for it to go, you're happy
mhm,
for it to go,
mm,
is very rare.
mm,
You've had so much time with it and been able to have so much latitude with what you can do with the work that you feel, at the very least, like you've done everything you can. And I
mhm.
think that's a very rare feeling. I very rarely put a book out into the world and think, there's nothing more I could do. And I almost get nervous when I think, oh, it's so good, you
Yes.
know?
Well, that's
But
the odd feeling. And also, I had a question for you, which is, they came back to me and they're like, okay, it goes to press in October. We have 3 more passes. So you still have, opportunity to
mm,
change things. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with 3 more passes, but I'm
right.
sure I can find things. And so, like, there becomes this thing of like, am I going to spend another 8 days and keep rereading it over and
No.
over again?
I think that 8 days, which by the way, as soon as you said I locked myself away for 8 days, I was just like, "Oh," my mouth started watering at the thought of doing that. Again, also very rare and very cool
Mm,
that you have basically just been given all the time and space and freedom to do absolutely everything you want.
mm.
Like, you're leaving it all on the table with this
Yes.
book, and,
Yes. Yes.
it's very rare that we get to do that. It's very rare we get to go into publication with no regrets whatsoever
Hmm.
and know, like, this is exactly what I wanted, and it's gonna succeed or it's gonna fail, but it's mine.
Oh, and we're going to talk so much more about that when we get to
Mhm.
our industry nonsense. So why don't you tell us about your theme of the week?
Okay. Well, you talked about, loosening of the fist,
Mm,
letting the book go. My friends joke that I wake up in the morning and I clench my fists as soon
mm,
as I gain consciousness, and I
mm.
don't unclench until I'm unconscious again.
Yes, yes.
So, in that vein, my theme this week is try to relax.
Mm,
And I know I actually relax like a lot
mm,
physically, but not mentally. I'm very anxious. I'm very tightly wound. I currently have a spreadsheet on my computer trying to figure out what carry on I'm going to buy because I need to get a new carry on piece of luggage. And so I needed a spreadsheet with all the different like, well, this one's made of this and weighs this much and has this volume and these measurements, but it's not good on this airline and
This
blah
is
blah blah blah
the
blah.
only thing ChatGPT is good for.
No, don't tell me that.
The
No,
only
I'm
thing.
making my Excel sheet. I'm going to Toomey and Ramova and Away and Briggs
Oh
and Riley
God.
and actually looking at the specifications and typing it into my little thing. Stay away from me, demon. But I know this all stems from sort of my defensive need to control
Mm.
things. And right
Mhm.
now, my draft is still with my editor. So I'm telling myself, like, enjoy treading water. There's nothing for you to control. But the guilt has set in. And I talked about, enjoying those free days before the guilt sets in. And it has set in. So I've actually started working on my next
Oh, that's
book.
amazing.
Susie, my agent, was great in kind of guiding me towards what I'm doing next. And it feels very personal while also still very, very, very much in my wheelhouse.
Mm.
I'm back into castle intrigue on this one.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I've been kind of mired in admin for my upcoming European tour and preparing to dive back in on Tempest when the edits do come back. But that's been my week is try to relax, try not to have um, labored breathing over the thought of buying a new carry-on.
I'm telling you, when you discover ChatGPT for stupid
Shut
things like
up,
this, you will be very
Soman.
happy. But I will say, if you're working on something new, I actually think this is the ideal time to start it because there's almost no pressure. You're just kind of noodling,
I
you
am, and I'm
know?
definitely in the noodling space where I'm like, what kind of castle do they have? La
Yeah.
la la, and it's fun.
So there's no outlining yet. You're just
No,
kind
there's
of,
outlining.
oh, there's outlining. So there's story happening.
Oh, dear Selman.
I thought it was a little bit like you just kind of like make some notes
Oh,
and
yeah. What do you think I'm doing? How do you think I start? We should do a whole episode on how do you start writing a book,
okay,
though,
we're
because we
gonna
get
do
all those
this
questions.
because I we'll find
We
out in
blue
real
balled you.
time. You're gonna
We just got,
your presentation is gonna be like 40 minutes, and I'm just gonna be
yes.
like, "Will you
And there
open?"
will be a quiz at the end of the presentation.
And mine will be like, "You open up the laptop and you start typing words." All
Oh,
right. Well,
man.
let's talk about our next segment, which is goals for this week, and we're gonna start by reviewing how we did on our goals for last week. So, why don't you take us through your goals for last
Cool.
week and how you did?
Cool. So my first goal, like I thought I would be easing myself back into work. It would be my fastest return to work after turning in a draft. Fail. Not my fault. No
Yeah.
draft back yet. So
Yeah.
no easing back into work on Tempest. Two, get back on the workout schedule. I had been slacking. Better. I am moving and grooving, and I have worked out every single day this week so far. Hooray
Mm.
for me. Um, I also wanted to start on the new project and expand, my log line to sort of a paragraph overview to a one sheet, and expanding my one sheets into sort of a synopsis.
Mm.
Jesus Christ, if not a beat sheet.
Yeah.
A plus. I know what I'm writing next. I know the story. That feels so weird to say. I have 3 acts vaguely
Mm.
outlined. I beat it out sequence one yesterday, like
Yeah.
wrote the whole thing out, and it,
Yeah.
it came together so quickly. And I see not just the first book in my head, but now I know where it's going to be a duology and I know exactly where it ends. And I had like one of those moments of, oh my God, creativity is magic. Yesterday I was listening to a song and something about that song sparked like a line. And that line told me
Mm.
like, this is how the second book ends.
That's
And I was
amazing.
like, oh.
How did you decide that this was going to be the book out of the 3 ideas?
Susie was very helpful in that I gave her the one sheets. Where do you think we should be going next? While also saying, here's the one that's currently dancing in front of me naked a little bit more than the other
Mhm.
two.
Mhm.
And then one of them is very predicated upon some stuff for the Realm Breaker books. So that is still in development, and so I can't really make decisions based on that right
Yes,
now.
yes,
So it
yes.
would make more sense to go towards this thing. But it does feel really good, really cool. I know it's the right thing for me to write next. I'm excited to write it. I really like the character in the world, and it has probably surprisingly like the most personal elements of it
Mm.
from me in that book. Even though I didn't really originally set out with that, but as soon as I started noodling with it, I was like, oh no, this is about me.
Yeah. Well, I wonder, it's funny, like the fantasy I'm working on now, as I got into it, I was like, oh, this is the closest
Hmm.
I'm getting to like the nerve, like of who I am. And I wonder, because we've been sort of professionals for the same amount of time, and we've kind of worked on the same number of new things and stuff like that. Whether like there's something about this particular
Mm,
cycle that is pushing us both towards something quite, you know, I
yeah.
don't know. We'll
Well,
just see
now
as
that
we
you're
go.
saying that, I'm wondering because many people they use their writing as therapy for themselves. They're healing
Hmm.
something in themselves by writing this story. I really don't think I'm doing that even when it is something deeply personal. It's not fixing anything in me.
Hmm.
It's more just telling me here's how you connect to this work
Mm.
and then thinking forward how you're going to be able to connect this story to other people because it's intrinsically connected to you.
Mm.
So it's not really me being like I'm working something out. It's more me being like here's how I make this special.
That's it. I think this is such a good question. We'll have to do an episode on it of how you're relating kind of
Mm,
psychically to your work, because that is not my experience with mine. Mine is
right.
like the work reveals these things that I didn't realize are like
Mhm.
deep, terrible struggles in me
Right. But
that
do
I
you
am not conscious
feel
of.
after addressing them in text, do you feel like, "Oh, this has been the equivalent of 6 months with a therapist?"
No, it feels like it
Mm,
has brought something to the surface and it has asked questions that I have no answers to. And
got
so
it. So
it
now
leaves
you gotta
me,
go do 6 months with a
yes, no, it actually
therapist.
unveils the issue. I think I resolve it in the course of
Mm.
the fiction, but I don't
Oh,
think I
okay.
resolve it for myself
Right,
necessarily, you
right.
know?
Again, that
Um,
comes back to you and me being like, maybe I don't wanna heal entirely."
yes, yes, yes. All right. Well, on that note, tell us your goals for this week, and hopefully it involves psychic healing for the rest of your life and erasing all trauma.
Just that. That'll be our clip. Okay, so my goals for this week, I want to continue beating out the sequences of the new book. I'm not getting too deep into it because, again, I know Tempest is coming back any day now, so I don't want to
Hmm.
get too locked in. But I want to try. And maybe as a little treat, let myself draw a map of the new world.
Oh, great.
I already know vaguely what it looks like, but I would love to get out my little sketchbook and draw a
Yeah.
map and scan it into Photoshop and do my magic. Of course, all of this will get shoved aside when the Tempest draft comes
Mm.
back. I'm going to dive right back in on that. And my other goal is to clean my office. LOL, that's never going to happen.
It always seems clean. You always have these dreams of cleaning something that seems fine.
It's not that it's just very cluttered. And I have so many books. I'm
Yeah,
looking right
sure.
now and I'm like, never going to read that. That's in Japanese. I can't do anything with, I need to find a better way to display my books.
I was listening to Bethany Frankel's podcast, and she was talking about how every brand on earth sends her gifts, and she's like, I'm so fucking tired of all
Oh,
these like
must suck.
gifts and merch, and I was like,
Shut
we
up.
get books. Like, I would love to
Well,
get whatever you're getting.
right, because the difference is a book, that's a big
You have to
undertaking
do
to consume.
something.
Even if it's a book you
Yes.
love, it's like to consume that, you got to really set down the time and figure it out. But like someone sends you a lipstick,
Oh, yeah, you said it. She's
it's
like, I
also
have
very
J's.
easy to be like, mother in law, I have made this. I've done that before where I've given family members and friends, like, I've gotten some PR. Would you like some? And they're very happy. But when it's books, they're like, I'm good.
She was complaining that Jay-Z and Beyonce sent her a truffle, and she's like, "What am I? Where am I supposed?" And I was just like, "Send it to
First of
me,"
all, bullshit. I do not believe Beyonce. Wow. Jay Z and
Mm,
Beyonce, who I'm now going to call Beyonce,
which is amazing.
I don't believe they sent Bethany Frankel anything. Not
Neither do
because I
I.
don't just anything about Bethany Frankel. I just don't think they did that.
I think someone picked a mushroom out of the woods, sent it to her, and was like, "From
Oh, it was
Beyonce."
a full on mushroom. I thought it was like a nice box of like chocolate truffles. I should have known
No,
better.
it was a mushroom. All right. Well, my last week was pretty simple and successful. It was Young World Proof, which is done.
A plus.
Work on the
Woo!
book Taylor script for book trailer script for Young World. That's also done. Finalize the Stained Edge. It took 45 rounds.
Hell yes. Is the last thing you showed me what it is?
Yes, a version of it, like
Cool.
a version of it.
Yay.
So it was just trying to figure out what was going to be cool and sophisticated and actually work for a YA and an adult audience. It was just a lot of different things. Um, so hopefully that goes through and everything's great. And then last but not least, I was in a weird psychic place
Mm.
last week. So I feel like it was get back on more sustainable shores. I'm in New York this week. And so I just think like I'm back in the rhythm of New York. It
Oh,
forced me into a different headspace, you
do
know?
you feel more connected to your work when you're in New York?
No. Saying I
Oh, okay,
feel
good.
business-wise,
Uh-huh.
I I'm much more connected here. I can like see everyone.
Right.
Like I'm a hustler business wise here. St. Louis, I just kind of disappear into the book because there's nothing else happening.
Wow, you're really in the ideal, or at least what my ideal is, which is to be able to be in this beautiful, idyllic, like country space where I can just shut down and work. And then when you want, you can zoom to New York and,
It
walk in
sounds good.
Miranda Priestley, toss your coat, get
Yes,
me de Marchelier.
it sounds great. But the first 24 hours when I land in New York, I do suffer intense anxiety that I never have suffered before. And
Oh
it's something in the
no.
ramp up
The
of like,
sensory is
yes, yes,
yeah.
yes. I'm just not. Scott used to have it when he used to come to New York. He used to have like complete headaches and meltdowns that first day. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? We'd go to like Uniqlo and he'd just sit on the floor and like be like, I need to leave. Like he
I hate to
couldn't.
tell you that that's the experience in all Uniqlos. It's an
This guy came up
overwhelming
to me.
place.
I was
To be fair,
carrying.
they do have the best white t-shirts. Cheapest
It's
and best.
I was carrying 5 things that I wanted to buy, and he's like, "Can I get you a fitting room?" And I literally was like, "No," and they all flew out of my hand at the same time. He's like, "Can I help you?" And I'm like, "No," and they're all flying everywhere.
Oh my
It was
God.
that level of anxiety. I think there's something about the New York used to feel like normal pace, and now it just feels too
Maybe I
much.
don't have anxiety because I am able to walk through a department store. In fact, I feel never more at home than I do in a department store.
Oh, Uniqlo sent me to the edge of darkness. All right, my goals for this week. I'm in New York. I'm getting my beauty week this week. So the facial and the
Yay.
chiropractor and the dentist and the eyebrows and all the stuff. So then goal number 2 was to go to Random House and successfully meet the team and start work there. So that was great today. I was there for about 4.5 hours.
I want to
The
hear all about that. Can we
third one,
listen to what happened at the random house meeting?
yeah. So what it was today was it was a meet and greet with everybody who's going to be involved in the book at some point now that it's done. So before I was just dealing with the design and editorial, group.
Mhm.
Now it's meeting all the sales reps who are going to be working on the different accounts. Because remember, it's my first time doing a book with Random House. I
Right.
was at Harper for 10 years, HarperCollins for 10 years. So it was like meeting the sales team, and then it was meeting all the I have a dedicated publicity team for the book that I've never met before, and then the marketing team, and then everything from the digital design team. Like Random House has a completely different structure than Harper, so
Mhm.
getting to meet everybody and actually spend time with each person and hear their ideas and what they've made of the book so far. Like it just felt like the first time where you're like, okay, we are leaving the creative process and now
Yeah.
getting into the how are we going to bring it out into the world.
I'm going to
um,
ask the question that I can
mm,
hear a lot of our audience
yeah,
asking.
please.
How common is that process on a book where you go into the publisher in New York, you meet everyone who's working on the book?
I think it is rare, and
Yeah.
this was the product of synchronicity in that I was coming in to
Mhm.
meet today. The main goal was to meet my publicist for the first time and then to meet the designer,
Right.
because we had to figure out the back cover, which we'll talk about in a second. And because I was coming in, they were already having
Mhm.
a complete department party, pizza party today. So it was like,
Oh my God,
wait,
you got like a fourth grade pizza party at the
yes, it was
publisher?
like he's coming in, he's already there. Let's get it all done. So I think it was what's more traditional is I think every author putting out a book at any publishing house, as at some point, is gonna have a marketing meeting where they're gonna go through all the
Mhm.
bullets of the marketing plan and everything like that. That's usually the big meeting. In this case, because I was going in on a day where everybody was there, it just was natural. It sort of was just luck, but it all kind of worked out.
Yes, and being, I think, a lead title, that
Yeah.
also, factors in as well. Before COVID, I think a lot of the big in-person meetings were more common. Now post-COVID, again, unless you're actually in New York, and even then it's like a lot of people are still working remote,
Hmm.
these kind of meetings are
Super
largely
rare.
virtual. I've
Super.
definitely had some books where I'm like, it's either the meeting is virtual or I'm coming in and they're like, yeah, only like 3 out of 15 people on the team are actually in. Happy to have you meet them, but for the most part, that's not the kind of thing.
I think it's going to slowly change. I get the
I would
feeling that
hope.
publishers are sort of headed back to work. I mean, the other thing I was thinking about is when I did School for Good and Evil, and I was a debut author, and that book had no expectations whatsoever. Like I met like no one.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, and so there's it honestly sometimes just depends on the book and where you are. I think
Absolutely.
this is such a crazy different kind of book that I think everyone realizes that, if it's going to work, we all have to like be quite bold and work together on it. So
Mhm.
there is this feeling on this one of like, okay, we're going for it on this and we're going to try some crazy shit and let's have fun, which requires a little more synergy than you would have on a normal book where there's an established genre, there's an established plan. So yeah, there's all kinds of fun stuff that we'll talk about as time goes on. The
Now you're making me think, when was the last time I had one of those big meetings? And I think it might have been the first Red Queen book was like the biggest meeting I've ever been in with the amount of people. And they brought me in and I met like 20 people and they took me
Yeah,
out to lunch and this whole thing. But again, I lived in New England. It was easy for me to come into New York. And then since then, I've never had one again where it's like everyone's been in the
I
room.
think it's because one it only happens, I think, when you're new to a house. When
Maybe.
you're totally new to a house. And I'll be curious to see what happens with Tempest.
Yeah, now I'm thinking because I'm going to be in New York in October, but I don't think I'm going to have time. So now I'm like, ooh, la la
But it's
la, should
also a
I come
little
back?
early. But I think it's a little
It
early for
is.
you. I
Yes.
mean, we haven't talked about release dates or anything like that, but I still think it'll be early for you. Whereas, Young World's coming in spring, so I'm just starting to hit the runway is just beginning
Hmm.
of what's going to happen. My third goal for the week is to get. Now we're in. We did the
Oh my
stained edge. We
God.
did the front cover, and
Jesus
now we are in back
Christ.
cover land. Because remember, there's no
Soman.
jacket. There's no. So
Ugh.
like, where do you
But you
put
have,
this?
at least you have the color lock, like you have the style. It's more just the words that are going to be in the back, right?
Where do you put the synopsis? Where do you put the blurbs?
Oh my
Because
God. At this
you know,
point, I'd be in a hole. I'd be like, do whatever you want. That's the
I
thing, though. You don't lie down.
no, I am like, let's get into. Everyone's exhausted. I'm like, okay. And then the last goal was somehow to go back to full time work on the fantasy book, but I think
Hmm.
that's probably gonna take another week or so.
Yeah, give yourself
Um,
time on that. You've got a
to get
back
it.
cover to design.
My poor designers that I like, my rogue designers that I work with on the side
Oh
are
my
so
God.
exhausted.
They have a
Everyone
group
is.
chat without you in it. That is for so
They
sure.
One of them was like, I am designing a corporate video for Indians. And I'm like, this is going to be a
What?
hell of a lot more fun than that. I don't care what they're paying you.
Oh no.
But anyway, I think he'd rather do that at this point. Anyway, when we are back, we have a lot to talk about in industry nonsense. Hey, this is normally where you'd hear an ad for T-Mobile or LinkedIn or Shutter, My Pillow.
Not my pillow. Thankfully, we don't want ads in our show.
At least not the kind that detract from this very carefully curated, controlled experience for you.
Instead, when it comes to sponsorship, we would like Plot Twist to celebrate books, art, artists. So, on that note,
Are you a publisher that's like looking to spotlight an upcoming book, or an author-focused brand seeking to build awareness, or maybe a writing camp or a workshop trying to get the word out?
or maybe you finally figured out how to make Microsoft Word work? Then now is the time, because starting today, we are actively reviewing sponsorship proposals for Plot Twist.
Imagine it. Your company could sponsor an entire segment of the show. You could sponsor Theme of the Week or plot twists in real life.
Or you could get super controversial and sponsor industry nonsense.
Good luck with that. Or you can even sponsor a whole episode or show. Plot Twist is listened to worldwide, a mainstay on the podcast charts, and it has a new listener every 60 seconds.
So if you're interested in becoming a sponsor, email us at mail@plottwistpod.net and we can start the conversation.
That's mail@plottwistpod.net.
Thank you for not making me be the one to spell that out. And now back to the pod.
And we are back in Industry Nonsense, where we dive into thorny issues in art and publishing that other people might be afraid to touch. Especially this question, because I think it's like lingering and no one actually is talking about it. And we're going to take it straight on, which is, can you make too much art? And I am AKAing it Taylor's version. And I thought I'd take the lead on it because it's something that I think about a whole lot. And I
And
wanted to.
I don't want my name attached to you saying anything potentially negative about Taylor Swift because I value my safety and my sanity.
Well, let's see. I'm going to talk a lot about Taylor, and I really want honest feedback from
Go
people
for it.
on what they think. So let's rant, and we'll see where we get. And I want to start by talking about two different artists. One, of course, is Taylor Swift, and the other is Marina Abramovich. And Marina Abramovich is the greatest performance artist of all time, and she's most famous for her show at the MoMA. I think
Mhm.
this was back in probably 2004,
Yeah.
2005, called The Artist is Present, where she sat for 7 hours a day for 11 weeks, just sitting opposite people who lined up to sit in front of her. And there was no breaks, no interruptions, no talking. She just sat there and stared into your eyes and was present with you. And to me, it's I think the greatest artistic achievement of all time. And if you haven't seen the documentary about it, you have to. It's called The Artist is Present. And it just absolutely changed my life and it changed a lot of people's life. Marina, put together one of these performance art things once every few years. And she wrote a famous artist manifesto with a few key rules of being a successful and effective artist now that she's in her, late 70s. And one of these rules is an artist must not overproduce. And I always think that to myself, an artist
Mm.
must not overproduce. And what that means to me is an artist has to take their time developing new work, not rushing it out. And it's not even thinking of it as producing, but living through a moment by like assimilating inputs and inspiration and then yielding a natural output from that. And it's that golden ratio I've talked about on the pod before,
Yeah.
which is like 2/3 input to 1/3 output. But you need time to take in the input and to let it naturally turn into output. So let's talk about Taylor, which is most of her career, Taylor was on the 2 to 3 year album cycle, which I
Mhm.
think is pretty standard for pop stars. Madonna was at the 3 year cycle for most of her career. And for me, that's what felt like a natural rhythm growing up. Michael Jackson's was even longer than that. It was like a year to kind of take in the album as a listener, then a year where you would see it permutated on tour and in performances. And then that third year is fallow, where they make a complete exit and disappear in order to work on the next thing. And you're happy to develop a hunger for that next thing. And that's
Mhm.
just from, an audience perspective. From an artist perspective, I think anytime I've made something new, it's taken 3 years. School for Good and Evil, I started in March 2010. It hit shelves in May 2013. Young World, I started on January 25th, 2023. It's going to hit and it's going to hit shelves in 2026. New Fantasy Book was started at the end of 2024. It'll hit shelves in 2027. So it just feels like I need 3 years to conceive something and bring it to life so I can stand behind it like 100% with my heart and soul. Like I'd scream it into the universe, like I've been talking about Young World today.
Mhm.
And I can guarantee that it's not a rush birth and that the baby is healthy.
Mm.
I think there's an exception for series because you've already built the world, the
Yeah.
characters, the larger stories. I think series books for me always took 12 to 18 months.
Mhm.
You're always under the gun and you're stressed as all hell, but it's different because you can get the quality you need to
Mhm.
because you develop the story and everything. You just need the physical and mental health in order to essentially write one giant book over multiple years and multiple installments. So I don't even count series. So if you go back to Taylor, her recent albums are on this shorter cycle, which are 11 months, 5 months, 18 months, 14 months, where before it was 24 to 36 months. And this is from the biggest artist in the world who used to take that much time. So the two questions I want to ask then are, why are we on such a
Mm.
short cycle? And B, is this good? Taylor makes the argument recently because she knows this question is being asked. And she just says, well, I really like songwriting and I like making a lot of music and I like releasing a lot of
Mhm.
music, but I'm a little more cynical because I think the algorithm has changed where we're no longer in the quality game artistically as a society and we're more in the attention monetization game.
Interesting.
So the goal isn't to make a great show on Netflix, it's just to get you to spend more time on Netflix,
Right.
whatever that is. So
Hmm.
Taylor's strategy is releasing lately these massive kind of double albums for her last few albums, which I often think is sometimes a lot of filler and songs that wouldn't make the cut in a shorter album because she needs to flood the zone and increase your overall Taylor time on Apple and Spotify. Because Artist of the Year, these sort of tags of who has the best music always comes down to whoever you listen to the most
Mhm.
in terms of minutes. And so I think that also explains why everyone, down to Morgan Wallen, are releasing these huge double
Huh.
albums. So same goes for books. If an author just floods the zone with content, a new book every 6 to 12 months, your limited attention
Mhm.
already cut down is starting to now belong to that author. Amazon built an ebook shop just for them. TikTok videos proliferate because they're trying to keep up with all the books to review and talk about. You'll buy the merch and you'll watch the videos and you'll buy all the editions. And all of a sudden, they're starting to own your time and money because
Mm.
you don't have a break from them. So I think this is kind of the game now, which is don't make an exit between pieces of work at all. You be ever present, you flood the zone, and you force people to engage with you all the time. So you are
Oh.
as much a platform to them as Amazon or Netflix, right? You are literally an author platform.
Mm.
And I want to fight against this because I hate this so much. I like the idea of like slow down, take your time, release a book only when it's ready and when you know it can stand the test of time because it's going to be there forever, theoretically. And this is rich from someone who released 10 books in the School for Good and Evil series, but I still think series really is all one big book. When it comes time to make a new work, it's okay to not feel the pressure of content and monetization and flooding the zone. I think it's okay to take the time to make something great. Otherwise, I think pressure leads you to shortcuts. And when the game is shortcuts, this can ultimately end with you getting tired halfway
Mm.
through making something new and looking for more shortcuts. And that's where Gen
Yeah.
AI starts to become really tempting to stay on the
Hmm.
hamster wheel. And I think it's a grim end when you sacrifice to the god of quantity. So, all this said, this is sort of the last thing I'll say, which is Taylor seems to have discovered the same thing in some respects, because she said this about her upcoming album, Life of a Showgirl, that even though it's coming so quickly,
Hmm.
it's only 13 songs and she's not going to give you
Oh,
any other songs. It's just her best stuff. She, was hard
sick.
on cutting down to just bangers. So I think that's a sign that if you do go flood the zone like she did for a while and you go for world domination like she did, like owning your time, the rewards maybe aren't as fulfilling as coming back to what the idea of editing and taking your time and just gardening a book the way
Mm.
you garden a flower. And it's going to bloom in its own time and in its own way. And you'll know when it's perfect and it's time to pick and put in a vase and show off, But that's where I feel I am with that huge question of an artist must not overproduce.
I think that was very well done. And
Mm,
you utilized some two very, very different artists to
mm,
draw a really cool point. I will say, because the first thing I thought when you were talking about, the later Taylor Swift albums came so
mm,
fast. And then we've done the same thing with our serialized work. Those came out a book a year. And
mm.
my first thought was, well, the last few albums that Taylor Swift did were kind of serialized. They did all sort of have these through lines. So she was kind of working, I would say, maybe in the same world. And
Mm,
now we're getting a new thing because up until the last few albums, it was like every single thing is its own thing. And
mhm,
then the last few, for as many songs as you like, a lot of them kind of blended together, at least in
mm,
my head. But that's the intention.
mhm,
So, but then I didn't know that about the next one about Life of a Showgirl. I'm a Taylor about it being like just 13 songs. I am definitely a Taylor fan, but a very uninformed one.
mm.
And by uninformed, I mean I saw her open for Rascal Flatts in 2008. So don't tell me I'm a fake fan. I have been here since the beginning.
Mm.
I'm just not combing through the Easter eggs because I'm just not doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
But that is great to hear. I cannot wait for another album of like bangers only.
Mm,
As for the whole, can you overproduce? How many times have I said it on this podcast? I feel the pressure to speed up.
mm,
I feel the pressure to produce more. And honestly, it's not necessarily from the business side, though I'm sure my publishers would love it if I could just crank out bestsellers every few months. I mean, I would love that too.
mm,
But I do feel the pressure, not directly, but kind of observationally from the readership. Our readership have just become so voracious, which is wonderful. But you absolutely worry about being forgotten, about being put aside for someone who maybe can't do it as well, but can do it faster.
mm.
And I think every reader sort of has to ask themselves, like, what's more valuable to you? Is it one great book or a 4-book series that's a B plus that
Yeah.
you can binge? And that's going to be a different answer for everybody. But the answer I currently see most, or like the consensus I'm kind of seeing most, or the one that is at least sticking in my head, is that readers want the 4-book series in hand ready to binge.
Mm,
And I just wish I could write faster and write better and keep those readers fed. Because if you're not feeding them, someone else will.
yeah.
I'm currently in a fallow year without a book being published, and it's a very weird feeling knowing I have no pub date on the calendar. And the one I do have is still very far off. It's like looking ahead to this weird combination of Christmas morning and the electric chair.
What?
or
Tell
like a
us
lot
more.
or like a lottery pull.
Ah,
Is this book going to come out? Am I going to get a winning ticket or wish I was dead when
got
Tempest
it.
comes out?
Yeah.
Only time will tell, but I want to know right now.
Mm,
I also went through the series gauntlet the way you did, producing a book a year for 5 straight years. And even with the structure of an established world, characters, a story arc, readers, it was still really wearing on me towards the end and sucked not just my energy, but my love for the work. And that's absolutely a danger I foresee in this sort of productivity race. You
mm.
don't want to destroy your own motivation and joy, and you want to still, hopefully, be able to like live a full life, whatever that means to
Yeah.
you. And for me, that means, being present in my home with my family and my friends and with my own health and wellness. And I just can't do that and write more than one book a year, if that. I
If
just know
that.
that about myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what if I wrote shorter books? I bitch about Tempest being so fucking long, but mathematically, that could have been almost 3 books. Am I stupid?
I don't know. I just think when they pick up a book by you, like that's part of the fun. I'm
I
like,
get the brick.
let's
The brick
go.
is part of the
Let's
fun.
go. Yeah, it's kind of like it's
Settle
like when you
in.
imagine if Donna Tartt released a book that was like 300 pages, everyone would be like, "Girl, what
She
happened?"
wanted some money. Is that
Exactly.
what people are going to think if I put out a short book? Oh, she wanted some money. I do agree with Marina's assessment on overproduction. I
Mhm.
think there is only so much juice in the orange, at least for me. And there's no way to keep up with the input, output, and live properly. And if one piece of that sort of triangle breaks down, I think the other ones follow. You
Yeah.
can't produce past a certain point, or if you do, the work is no good. There's like no more juice. There's
Mhm.
no more soul. And so I think there are plenty of people who are producing past what the soul can fuel. And, more power to them. Of course, I say all this still fantasizing about being locked in a little time closet where I can just work for weeks on end and miss nothing from my exterior life. But I would probably run out of gas in the closet too. So you hope to find the balance. You hope to find the magic equation that allows for this maximum output with minimum cost to the rest of yourself. I have not found it. You might be closer to finding it.
No, I'm taking 3 years a book. I mean,
I
it's a
know. And I
long
hear
time.
another thing I was thinking about in the Taylor Swift equation. This actually helped me kind of wrap my brain around some things with, oh, these last few albums, they all came out so quickly.
Yeah.
And then you think about traditional publishing. Your book's done.
Yeah.
You could hit publish tomorrow
You're
if there was
right.
an apparatus for that. But because we're in the system, that system needs what, a year to get things all lined up to get the book out in that meaningful big splashy way with all of the bells and whistles, all the moving pieces that are required. Taylor Swift is almost like her own apparatus. So she can say, the album's ready, publish.
Yes. Yeah.
We can't do that. And I almost wonder, this is probably going to be a bad metaphor, but there are a lot of really, really prolific and excellent indie authors who have control of their apparatus,
Yes,
who
yes,
can
yes.
finish a book and, start seeding it's coming out XYZ, and then it can come out and they are fully in control of the process. I think Taylor Swift is more in control of her process than we are.
That makes a lot of sense. But then it's interesting because I think like having gone into Random House today, and when you have the ability to have a team kind of really, work with like a long
Mm-hmm.
runway. One thing I heard today more than anything else from everybody on the team was we are so happy that we have a long runway for this.
Yes.
That they're like that somehow the schedule has afforded us nearly whatever it is, 8 months where
Mm.
the book's done. And they're like, that never happens anymore. And I think they just were excited by like the time. And it
Yeah.
just kept coming up in every department. And I thought it's so funny. Victoria and I are talking about this today because you could see it even on the publishing side, even with their long schedules. I don't think they get that time anymore.
No, they don't, especially when there are books coming out that are really trying to jump onto certain trends or
Trends. Yeah.
current events, even
Hmm.
where those that could crash to market, they really don't have the time. They really don't have the space and the energy and the leeway that you've had. And I think you're benefiting, especially from having a book that is outside trend. And if
Yep.
it hits, will become its own trendsetter. That's very exciting and sort of frees people up from the pressure of it needs to come out here. It needs to draft off of this moment. And you can just be your own moment.
Yeah. And I think also the idea being that there are so many different things
Mm,
about the book that require time, like even just to produce it, we have to ship it to, I don't know if it's China or India or whoever's printing it, but that in itself adds 6 months or
yeah.
whatever it is. So that's
Yeah.
why I think it's interesting when you're talking about people with their own apparatus, like
Hmm.
idea of just being able to, it's the fan fiction model, right? Like I'm going to deliver something
Yeah.
right now just to keep it going.
Absolutely. I really hope this sort of meeting with the full pub team becomes more prevalent again. And I really, really encourage anyone, if you have the time or the means to go to New York to tell your publisher, I'm coming in, I really want to meet people and push for that. I really hope you do, because I totally understand being the author, seeing all the names CC'd on the emails, but not really understanding how all the pieces are working. And to sit there with real people and physically go down the line and be like, okay, and what do you do? And to get those answers,
100%.
amazing.
And also, like, because I asked that question today so many times, and everybody's so smart and talented and loves books and has ideas. And
Mhm.
in email and with bureaucracy and
Yeah.
stuff, virtually, the amount you can get done in a simple conversation
Oh my god, I know. And I
is so much
totally
more.
I hear the detractions against, return to work. I get it. I think there are some industries where being able to collaborate in person is so valuable. And
Oh
of
my
course,
God.
creatively, the arts, publishing, you can tell when people are back in the office together and able to like work together in a physical space. I remember when I went over and met with my UK publisher and I met the publishing team, and they were all back in London. They were all together. They were just felt so much closer, so much more cohesive. They really understood each other and what they were all doing together. You could tell like this is necessary here.
Yeah. And also, like, it was funny that we were looking at a Pantone color that over virtual and that I saw digitally. I was like, if we have to sacrifice cost, it's fine. We don't really need it, right? And then I was in
Mhm.
the office today, and the designer like brought this little square of the Pantone and was like, "This was the Pantone," and I'm like, "I will die if this is not the color. I don't care
Do
what the
you get
cost
to
is."
name the color?
Yes, it is. Yeah,
You
the
get to
the
name a
color,
color?
the
This is the most
color.
Madonna publishing experience I've ever heard of.
Yeah, the colors that we talk about the color nonstop in the book, so everyone will know what that title is.
Are you gonna get clothes in the cover color?
I feel like we're gonna have plot twist merch before we have merch in that. But yes, is my wardrobe everything I'm gonna wear for the history of the release of this book that color? Yes, that's
You're
the
gonna
only
have to
color
wear
you're
the
gonna
little
see.
basketball jerseys from your team. How are they doing,
100%.
by the way?
They are back to school, so they're not in that league anymore. But they have kidnapped the jerseys and refused to give them back because they're like, "These are ours," and I'm like,
What
"No, they're
what was
they are
their,
mine."
final
They went 7-2.
what?
I
That's
know they
great,
went
because you
seven
thought
and
they
two.
were gonna be terrible.
No, they were amazing. They
You
could
had
not have done
no
better.
faith in those young children.
They were so excited to not be playing for their school and to be playing for a book that had not come out that they will never read. That they went
Soman,
full
at
blast.
least one of them is gonna gonna read it. You have to have some faith.
I'm gonna dare them to do it, and I feel like if I dare them, they'll do it. So we'll see. But speaking of readers, we have a mailbag full of
Yes, we
questions
do.
from them. So when we are back, we will go to the reader mailbag. And we are back with Reader Mailbag, where we answer two of our favorite questions from the week, starting with Elizabeth. When you are starting the first draft of a new book, do you ever struggle with the smaller scenes
Mm.
in between the big moments in a chapter? Especially when you're just getting to know the characters. Is it better to jump ahead to parts you feel sure of or push through and get words on the page? Tell me what you think of this one.
Well, I have to write linearly. I just cannot write scenes out of order, big or small. I also wonder how we're defining big scenes and small scenes, because some small scenes, like I really delight in explaining what's on the dinner table. I find that
Mhm.
very helpful. I especially cannot let myself write scenes I'm looking forward to first. They're my motivation. I'm a
Mm,
very grumpy donkey following a carrot on a string, sort of carrying the cart forward. And I'm not getting anywhere if I eat the carrot first. I always
makes
advocate to
total sense.
push through a first draft without editing as much as possible. You can always fix an imperfect first draft, but you can't do anything with just a perfect
Mm,
chapter one.
that's great. And I think we're similar in that we don't skip any scenes.
Hmm.
But then I know other writers who just kind of write like for like their favorite moments and then find a way to string them together. So I think everybody has a kind of different process on it. I just think also part of and I think you're saying something similar. You're gonna spend
Yeah.
98% of your time revising. Like that's the job. So just get something down, then you can start to fix it. Otherwise, you know, you're kind of spinning your wheels.
I totally
Um,
agree.
Second question from Apurva. How do authors decide on the narrative voice for a story? First person versus third
Ooh.
person. Are there any rules for deciding on that? I can tell you a quick story on this one, which is, you know, I did done third person for School for Good and Evil, and it's the only voice I knew. So for Young World, that's what I started with,
Hmm.
third person. And when I sent it to my agent, the first 150 pages or whatever it was, he was like, "This is bad." And he was I was like, I know it's
Pete?
bad. Why is it bad? Help me. He's like, I think it just sounds a lot, a little bit like School for an Evil. It just sounds like a fantasy book.
Hmm.
Even though it's set in this world. And I was like, oh, it was just the format, the frame, everything, and so there was something about Young World, which is so immediate and feverish and crazy and insane. It needed not just a first person, but like a diary, like a rant, like kind of what we do here on the podcast. It just needed voice, first person voice. And so sometimes you don't know until you try.
Right.
Like you just do it, and then you're just like, if it's not working or it doesn't feel natural, sometimes it's the voice you pick. How about you? What do you think on this one?
Well, hmm, I'm one of those authors who writes an entire book in one perspective, finishes, and then panics that I should rewrite it in the other perspective.
That's hilarious.
But that's interesting that you say third person just lent to School for Good and Evil and that it sounded like fantasy, even though it wasn't once it was moved
Mm.
to another genre. And I think there is something to be said there for third person for a lot of our work is kind of very fantasy coded. And
Mhm.
a lot of contemporary is first person. Uh, I will say my next book, I've been going back and forth, but I think it's first person.
Oh,
For
interesting.
yeah, Realmbreaker and Tempest were all third person limited, multiple perspectives. I think the
Yeah.
next one is first person, one POV. So
In
like back
fantasy,
to Red Queen, yeah.
which is so funny because Red Queen to me, if you tell me what voice Red Queen was written in right now, I would say third person.
No, so I think there's something to be said for the immediacy of first person. You get to do you get to cut a lot of corners in terms of getting the audience on board with your
Mhm.
characters. They're so immediately in it with them already. And if they like them, they like them. If they don't like them, they're gonna put your book in a fireplace.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I think it really does come down to what the story demands to be. Red Queen really demanded that first person structure. It would not have had the same propulsion or the same hook if it
Mm.
was written in third. There's also something to be said for if you're withholding things from the audience, if you have unreliable narrators, if you have narrators who don't necessarily know what's going on entirely, it's a lot easier to do that in first
Yes.
person.
Yes.
I wouldn't say there's so many rules as to what your book feels like and what your story demands. It's going to be subjective and it's up to your taste and also your personal skill. Are you better at first person? Are you better at third person? Do you like first person? Do you like third person?
I can feel something very controversial rising up that I shouldn't say, but I'm going to say it. I want to see your reaction, which is a lot of fantasy is written in third person. Most of it is. So when I see copycats of Red Queen suddenly use first person, it just feels even more transparent as to.
Oh, my button's on the other side of the room, Selman.
Oh God, I had to say it. I'm always your Joan of Arc. Can I
You
be your Joan
are.
of Arc? Didn't
She
she
got burned
die?
at the stake. I don't
Yeah.
want you to. She had a bad haircut and burned at the stake. We've said that before.
I wouldn't tolerate either of those things. Oh boy. If you'd like to submit a question to our reader mailbag, you can email it to mail@plottwistpod.net. Mail@plottwistpod.net. And for our last segment, second to last, plot twist we want to see in the real world this week. And mine is just super simple. I wish I could expose kids today in a sort of simulacrum or something to what life was like when I was growing up, just for a few days. No
Hmm.
phones or screens. You just wander around after school, meeting other kids by the tennis court or whatever, and you're building forts and tree houses, and you have weird detective agencies, and you sell shit on the corner
Were you an
that you
Olsen twin?
that you kind of just like took from your parents' house, and you try to outfit your bike with things to make it go faster that never work.
Mm,
You just have this like oddly physical, like do it yourself, like imaginative life rather than a digital life. And it was, it's hard to make friends and social pressures were different and all that stuff, but it was miraculous and wonderful. And I think it taught you how to be a human in the world. And I just want everyone to have it
mm.
for 3 days and then they can go back to Fortnite and Snapchat.
Yeah, that makes me think of, I mean, I broke both my arms on a scooter. Once my friend and I, we found a wheelchair in the woods and we hooked it up to the back of her bicycle and we didn't have enough rope. So I rode in the wheelchair with the wheel in between my legs.
Mm,
But not to be a grumpy old lady and like one up you, but I think my age group, I was born in 1990, we really got the best of it. Like we barely grew
mm,
up with phones. We
yes.
remember the dial up internet. There
Yep.
was almost no social media in high school and college, but we
Yeah.
did get to experience technology and become sort of fluent in its usage,
Hmm.
while also being imbued with this healthy distrust of that technology. We used to get warned out of using Wikipedia by our teachers, and now that same age group are posting memes from like freedomeagle.facebook as if they are fact. I think millennials are actually also the best at identifying AI too. I have no science to back this up, but we were raised with tech and we were more importantly raised with like a skepticism of it. I can touch type, I can write in cursive. I am superior. I can do both.
I think you're right because I always come to you with like all tech questions and anything
I
like
don't
that.
know. I will say I am starting to feel like, I don't know how to do that. Someone explain to me like I would explain to my mother.
Mm.
But my twist, I guess, is I bought a Therabody, like it's almost like goggles, and it's an eye/forehead massager for tension headaches. And my twist will be that it fixes all my problems. I believe it
It
will. I will
sounds
report back.
amazing. And you've tried it?
I tried it once. It was very nice. And I guess, like, I think the most helpful thing is when it's on, it's like a blackout screen. You can't see, so you can't, like, use your
Okay,
phone
you need
into
to
it.
send this to me immediately. I am
So
purchasing
it's
this.
like, oh, you you're like
I
a
am
parrot in a cage, and they put the blanket over your
I'm either
cage.
buying this or I am banging the stick on the parrot cage until someone buys it for me. Okay, I'm
Huh.
expecting that link in my text podcast.
Speaking of pets.
Okay, our final segment, Pup Twist, in honor of the one and only lady who lit up my life for 2.5 wonderful years.
Mm,
This week, meet Luna, the 10-year-old Husky Lab mix who belongs to listener Micah. Do you want to tell us about
sure. Micah
Luna?
writes, whenever I encounter a plot or character problem, I sit next to her and I talk through the issue. Although she has no idea what I'm saying, she stares at me wisely until I figure out a solution. Oh, I love this. I started drafting a new book recently, so she has been getting a lot of pets. And now I'm scrolling to see the photo. Oh
We
my
are seeing the photo, and the funny thing
God.
about it is, I know you say she stares at you wisely. This picture looks as if Luna has no idea what you're saying.
Luna looks like she is burdened by great purpose. She looks like she knows the secrets of the universe and is just like, figure it out, guy.
She's like, I am so far ahead of where you are in this story. I have the entire thing
She
completely
looks like
worked
a
out.
sweetheart and just a good cuddle. I mean, Indy is so useless. I will have my computer open and she tries to shut it with her head.
Yeah, Indy has no interest in your productivity or your
No,
story.
no.
Luna, yes, Luna has myth inside her. That is
May
for
we
sure.
all find a Luna.
And may we all see more dogs and keep setting them in because we love them all. And we're just going to keep picking them one by one until we're through all of them. So you can find me in my even more than usual confessional diary at Diary of a Novel on Substack, which continues to get more and more, um, I don't know what the word is, intimate. And then Instagram is my other headquarters at Soman C. How about you, Victoria?
You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and occasionally on Substack. I'm not as frequent as you are.
Mm. And that is it for this week. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Plot Twist is hosted by Victoria Aveyard and Soman Chainani. It's produced and edited by Liam Billingham. Our logos, art, and graphics are by Michael Blank. The music is by Thieves and Louis Adrian. Production support from June Secchia.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to Plot Twist wherever you listen to podcasts and drop us a review to let us know how we're doing. See you next Thursday.